So I gave myself the weekend to just kind of cool off, um, just kind of take a break, think, try to understand what happened in the draft with the Eagles, and it didn't really help. So here we are because I need an outlet to release a lot of steam, frustration. So yeah, this is my outlet. You guys can hear me. Yeah, just blow off a lot of steam and try and fail to make sense of the first 2 days of the Eagles draft. So yeah, I'm not the kind of person that'll like scream about this stuff. My anger comes from confusion. When I can't, or nobody can make sense of a pick, or a move or anything. That's the most frustrating thing, when it doesn't seem to logically make sense. So I'm not going to be like freaking out. Internally, I am so angry, but I'll, it's not like, yeah, it's not going to be like a screaming rant. It's not going to be first take, is what I'm saying. It's going to be it's going to be more of a confused and sad fan, is what this is going to be. So, we'll just start first round. So, first we go into it. I'm thinking that the Eagles are going to at least take a wide receiver with their first overall pick at number 21. That's the bare minimum. We're thinking maybe they'll trade up with the 49ers. The 49ers want to try to trade back, get some more picks. They do trade back, but they trade with the Bucs. Next spot that's available to trade up is the Falcons at 16, ahead of the Cowboys at 17. Don't do that. Wasn't too concerned about the Cowboys because they don't really need a wide receiver. They need a defensive back. They need to improve their defense. We're probably fine. They won't take a wide receiver. They took CeeDee Lamb. Well, I mean, that's pretty heartbreaking. That's terrible, but now we just got to hope Justin Jefferson falls to us. And he does. And then we don't take Justin Jefferson. So, let me backtrack. Sorry. Possibilities here. One, you trade up with the Falcons to get CeeDee Lamb. Afterwards, we find out that they didn't trade up with the Falcons because they didn't want to give up their second round pick, which they ended up wasting anyway. We'll get to that. So that's frustrating that you don't trade up to get CeeDee Lamb because you're trying to save a pick that you ended up wasting anyway. But then, okay, we're still good. We can still get Justin Jefferson. He's considered by some to be the second best wide receiver in this class. It's not that bad. We're still good. And then we don't take Justin Jefferson. We take Jalen Reagor. Nothing against Jalen Reagor. It's just Jalen Reagor is, from all the scouting reports and his performance at TCU, he's a good player. He could be a great player. It's just the draft is about getting good value, getting the best player you can at the lowest spot. You waiting the longest you can to get the best player you can is the best way I can explain what the mentality of the draft should be, according to most people. And Jalen Reagor, you could have taken him, if you really wanted him that bad, you could have taken him maybe at your second round pick. That would have been a little iffy. But you could have traded up, maybe gotten him mid-second round. You take him in the first round. It's not bad. It's just a very, very risky pick. And when you don't really have any wide receivers other than a 33-year-old Deshaun Jackson and an Alshon Jeffrey who's probably not really going to be playing, it doesn't seem like you can afford to take such a big risk with that pick. It feels like, to me, that pick should be a pick that is safe and almost a lock. None of these prospects are locks, but as close to a lock as you can get in Justin Jefferson, instead of hoping that Jalen Reagor is really good, which he totally could be. It's just less likely than Justin Jefferson is, and if Reagor doesn't work out, you are left with basically nothing at wide receiver. But that pick was, it wasn't great, but I could at least like talk myself into it. I could understand the logic of, okay, we want a wide receiver, we clearly want to get faster. It's been made quite obvious recently. We want to get faster. At least we took a wide receiver. Like I can understand it. And then day 2 of the draft rolls around. We're in the second round, 53rd overall pick. This better be good because we didn't want to trade for CeeDee Lamb, so hopefully they got their eye on somebody. We've got AJ Epinesa sitting there, mocked in the first round by a lot of people. Defensive end, we could use some help there. Our defensive ends are either getting old, Brandon Graham, or we have young guys that haven't quite panned out, Derek Barnett, and I'd be fine with him. We have Christian Fulton sitting there, a defensive back. We can always add to our secondary. You have Denzel Mims, again, mocked in the first round. Why not add another wide receiver? He'd be fantastic value. There were plenty of those were my top 3 guys that I really wanted, but there were other players there too. Literally, there were so many other players that they could have picked that we would have been fine with. And they picked Jalen Hurts, quarterback out of Oklahoma, and literally just wasted a second-round pick on a quarterback who, when people could not understand this at all. There was so little understanding of this pick that the rationalization that people tried to make was that, well, maybe they can use them. Maybe they can use Jalen Hurts as like a Taysom Hill type guy. First of all, Taysom Hill was an undrafted free agent that the Saints picked up, barely paying him anything. Didn't waste a draft pick on him. Undrafted free agent, not risky at all. Low cost, no expectations, you're fine. To use a second round pick on a Taysom Hill type, you have to pay him what you have to pay a second round pick. And the expectations of being a second round pick. You can't compare him to Taysom Hill. Even if he does fulfill the role of Taysom Hill, are the Saints that much better of a team because they have Taysom Hill? Would the Saints no longer be favorites in the NFC if they didn't have Taysom Hill? No. You use a second-round pick on a guy that you hope can either be a starter right away or at least develop into a starter, a high-caliber player who's going to help your team win games. And Jalen Hurts is not going to help the Eagles win games. This pick is so frustrating on so many levels. They say it's independent of Carson Wentz. It's impossible for you to make any move that is independent of your franchise quarterback. Every move should be dependent on your franchise quarterback. You had a chance to bulk up your defense, which always needs work. No matter how much we seem to add, our defense is always going to need work. Every defense is. You could have added weapons to an offense that, even though you spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver, still risky, still questionable. We still don't, even if he does pan out, we still don't have the greatest wide receiving core. Could have taken a guy on offense. Literally could have taken anyone that will be on the field consistently. Anyone. But you took a guy who is maybe going to be on the field 4 times a game to run some gadget plays. And it just infuriates every Eagles fan that you could have improved the team, and you did not improve the team at all. Literally did not improve the team one bit. There's best case scenario, maybe Jalen Hurts scores a touchdown on some crazy trick play and you win a game from that. That's the best case scenario. This was a wasted second round pick, and it's so frustrating. And then afterwards, Howie said that we want to be a quarterback factory, whatever that means. I'm wondering if he's trying to copy. If he looked at, in this offseason, Howie was like, all right, our offense has to get better. Let's copy the best offenses. Chiefs, they're fast. Let's get fast guys. Saints, they have a bunch of quarterbacks. Let's get them. I understand why you would copy from the best people, but the Saints having Teddy Bridgewater did help them. They went 5-0, but that's a veteran that you signed. Jalen Hurts is a second-round pick that you're still obviously paying, but he's going to have to learn the offense. They called him a project. Signing a veteran is not a project. He's going to be able to come in, help you out if your quarterback gets hurt. It's an insurance policy. You don't use a second-round pick on an insurance policy. You use a second-round pick on a guy who's going to come in and play for your team, not sit on the bench for most of the game and be great in the quarterback room. Sure, he'll be great in the quarterback room. I don't question Jalen Hurts. I feel bad for Jalen Hurts. He seems like a great guy who could be a good quarterback, but instead he's stuck in Philadelphia behind Carson Wentz, maybe running some gadget plays here and there, not even really getting to play quarterback. I feel bad. You don't want to get drafted in the second round and have no idea what you're going to be doing. You want to either be in a Jordan Love situation where it's like you are going to be the guy in a couple years, or you get drafted to a place that doesn't really have a quarterback and it's like you're going to get to compete for the job. He doesn't get either of those. He's just kind of stuck in this limbo of like, yeah, maybe we'll throw you out there to run a reverse or something. That's ridiculous. Back to the quarterback factory. I got off track. A quarterback factory can possibly be a good thing, but how has being a quarterback factory helped the Saints other than that 5-0 Teddy Bridgewater stretch? They didn't trade him for anything. He left as a free agent. They have Taysom Hill, who they just now started paying. They had him so cheap until just recently. That's not what makes them a good team, that they're a quarterback factory. The Eagles had Nick Foles and traded him for some assets, but you're not going to take Jalen Hurts and trade him in 2 years for a first-round pick. That's the best case scenario. You just get another second-round pick. That's the best case scenario. Actually, for Jalen Hurts, you trade him for another second-round pick. And that's not why not just use your second-round pick that you have now on someone who's actually going to help the team. And what frustrates me with draft picks is when there is no good explanation. Packers, Jordan Love, there's at least an explanation. Our quarterback, it's not a good explanation, but it's at least an explanation. Our quarterback is 37, we don't know how much time he has left, we're going to draft his replacement. You can argue that they probably should have taken a wide receiver to help Aaron Rodgers out in his last few years, but they didn't, and you can at least make a case for why that makes sense. They believe that they should invest in the future and have a backup quarterback who's going to be ready to have another seamless transition at quarterback. The Eagles, you can't even make that case because Carson Wentz is 27. Unless you expect that they're going to trade Carson, he's on his way out and we need to groom a young quarterback for him. You don't groom a backup for a 27-year-old who's supposed to be in his prime. So it doesn't make sense from the backup standpoint. It doesn't make sense from the Taysom Hill standpoint. It doesn't make sense at all. it's a waste of a second round pick, and second round picks are very valuable. Like I said, that you should be able to, if you hit on a second round pick, they should be a quality starter for your team. And when you take a quarterback who's barely going to be on the field, you're not making your team better. And the Cowboys probably leapfrogged us because of this draft, and that just makes it 10 times worse. Day 3 was good. Howie did a lot of damage control and tried to make it better, but it does not make up for wasting a second round pick. I don't care how many 5th round picks you make, you're still less likely to get a good player than you are in the second round. It's still inexcusable. You can't do that. And I feel pretty safe saying that they wasted this second round pick, because I don't see a scenario in which Jalen Hurts proves us wrong, us being all the Eagles fans in the world. I don't see a scenario in which Jalen Hurts proves us wrong and we're like, oh yeah, that was a good pick. We're sorry, Howie. You were right. Jalen Hurts was worth it in the second round. No, that's never going to happen. That is never going to happen. Because even if Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, the reason he's playing is that Carson Wentz got hurt and you put Jalen Hurts in. The quarterback that you paid $128 million is not on the field. That's the best. That is the only way that this would be a good pick, is if Carson Wentz has a season-ending injury. Jalen Hurts comes in, takes the team, wins a Super Bowl. Good pick, Howie. Good job. That's it. That is the only way. That is a good pick by Howie Roseman. All right, I've been going for 17 minutes here. This is I could keep going, but I feel like me saying more is not going to fix this. What's done is done. I got my 17 minutes of complaining, and I feel like if I do any more, it's not gonna, well, even the first 17 minutes isn't gonna make anything better. Those 17 minutes helped me clear my head, get everything out there, and after that, it's just kind of repeating myself. So, yeah. Rager pick, didn't love it. It's risky. I don't like risks, especially in the draft, but I can at least be optimistic about it and make sense of it. Jalen Hurts wasted a pick. You guys just wasted your second round pick. I'm still an Eagles fan, but it's difficult sometimes. So, yeah. Congrats, Howie, on your new backup quarterback, Taysom Hill, who's more expensive.